What's up guys, Americana back here with another video. Everybody says September is going to be a bloodbath, but the data suggests otherwise. So let's break down past cycles. Let's look at previous Septembers because I think context is very important for this. So let's get into the video. Alright guys, so the inspiration for this video, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen by now, is that there's like little tables going around, right? Little breakdowns of like years with months to the top, bottom, right, left, wherever they happen to be located, giving you a breakdown of like how Bitcoin or crypto performed in each month in each year. And typically, what you do see is like September can be mixed, or September is typically dumping, or whatever consensus you derive from looking at this table, right? It really is subjective to you to what you see. But this is kind of an actual breakdown. Like, let's look at a chart. Let's map everything out and let's see if we can see any trends. Let's see if we see any commonalities. And let's just like actually try to take a non-biased look of how September could turn out for crypto, right? So let's get into it. All right, we are actually going to start out with these red bars here, right? These signify Septembers that happen after a macro bull market peak. So this is the first September after what we can see was the macro bull market top, right? And typically what followed this is some sort of capitulation style event, right? I'm not trying to make a case for halving cycles or 4-year cycles. When I show this, I'm just simply looking at the data and presenting the findings to you guys. So don't take it as like I'm like, oh, in a halving year we have to see this or that or whatever. I'm just breaking things down and things that I notice, right? But as you can see here, after a macro top, September after that, we typically have time for one more capitulation, and that kind of ends up wrapping up the bear market for Bitcoin before it continues on, right? So this gray bar here is just a year 2 September, we'll call it, right? I don't really know how to categorize it, and everything within the data is like a little bit mixed, right? It marked, clearly we kind of reversed from here. We did that twice, but then, kind of in here, we obviously had like a COVID dump and things like that. Market cycle was a little bit different. So kind of just a mixed bag wash, and it would never really have any importance anyways. That's why I'm kind of calling it year 2, because this first year is like after a macro bear market, some importance to what happens next or in and around that time, right? Year 2, nothing really happens. Year 3 is typically we have a halving that year. So that historically has some importance, which we'll just get into that. We'll just go straight into that right now. This is September's within a halving year, right? Within the same calendar year of the halving, okay? The first September post-halving, whatever have you. It's typically how it falls. The halving is in or around or after that time, right? Or sorry, before. This is after the halving. But as you can see, it has marked, typically we do see, 3 out of 3 times we've seen price appreciation in a September within a halving year, right? So that again doesn't apply to this year, but we do need to break everything down to see kind of where we stand right now. And then we'll call this a topping year, I guess you want to call it. We'll call this a 1 year post halving, however you want to categorize it, right? But the September we're currently in now, right, which I'm going to call it 1 year post halving, that September. You can typically see here, right, this is a flat month. This is a massive down wick, but flat month. And this is a relatively flat month, both preceding some sort of exit pump, right? Some sort of final move, exit of the market just before a macro top comes in. And we're talking 2 months before, 1 month before some sort of macro top comes in. And if you've seen my other videos, I'm kind of leaning towards a October, November, early December kind of top, and this is something that definitely lines up with it. But I say all this to say that no matter what happens in September, it's pointing to be relatively flat, right? Do we dump the first half and then rally after Powell cuts rates? I don't know. Do we pump into the rate cut and it's a sell the news event? I don't know. I just can assume that September is going to end up relatively flat. It's going to be very emotional, as people already think it's going to be a bloodbath, and then do we pump, and then they all ape in, and then it ends up being a bloodbath, right? So we're not really expecting too much, if we're being honest. Last month we looked at what we could expect for Ethereum in the month of August, we got exactly what we thought, right? So just working through a similar process, and something I like to do every month is kind of like set your expectation for the month. And typically what you do see, you know, is like, oh, the monthly close is coming to an end, or quarterly close or whatever. We're going to have this massive scare, or guys, it's not going to be good this quarter. It's not going to be good this month. Look at the history, right? But it's always, the context is always important, right? What kind of year was it? When was it? Obviously, a September in the dead center of a bear market is going to be pretty red, or lead to more red after it. But like we've seen here with examples, you know, a September post halving year might signify, you know, some chop before a final exit pump, right? I'm not expecting much. Like I said, I'm still expecting the market to go on and do great, awesome, glorious, amazing things, whatever that may be, right? I don't really care. You guys have seen my other videos, how high Bitcoin goes. The focus for me is in the altcoin market right now, but I don't expect much out of September. I say that to kind of hopefully relieve some worry too. It's not all just about, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but a lot of people are, you know, over expecting bearish things too. So to those people, I wouldn't get overly bearish. If there is some sort of dip to begin September, I would expect the month to, you know, close relatively flat to barely green to barely red. So probably a good dip to buy, right? I'm not seeing anything across stock market or other macro data, and we're actually going to cover this week in other videos why the top isn't in my opinion. But hopefully this video can kind of relieve you of some stress, and it is kind of a good practice to look at these things. Like if you see something online, if you see some sort of table and it elicits some sort of emotion from you, and you just have this automatic bias of, oh, September is going to be terrible because I saw a, what do they call it, carousel on Instagram, and one of the photos was a table that said September is typically bad, right? If that's how you guys are going about the market, I feel sorry for you. You get a TradingView account, look at this stuff for yourself, right? This is not any type of crazy analysis. This is colored vertical bars on the dates that people are freaking out about, and then I just go from there on what's actually happened, right? As I'm breaking this down, I feel like none of that was too complicated, but I really do encourage you guys to start doing your own analysis, fact checking some of the things that you see online, fact check what you're seeing from me even, you know. So just good practice. It helps you guys learn, and that's kind of like a little piece of advice I would definitely give to anybody actually wanting to improve. But we're gonna wrap it up here. All right, guys, like I said, hopefully this video can alleviate some of the stress you guys might be feeling for September. Is it gonna be super red? Are we gonna dump? What's Powell gonna do? Probably gonna be a nothing burger. Probably gonna be nothing, but leading to that exit pump that we've been hoping for and looking forward to since April-ish, right? Breakout of Ethereum, breakout of Total 2, some sort of exit pump in the altcoin market. That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're looking for. But we are still on track. Don't get discouraged. Don't get scared about September. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.